Hi and welcome to Old Time Knowledge. Well, in this video, I recruited my son to help me out in putting together a compilation video of 4 Thanksgiving sides. These are 4 of my absolute favorite sides for Thanksgiving. I've got string bean casserole. I've got my grandmother's delicious sweet potato fluff. I've got corn pudding and another of my grandmother's recipes, her old-fashioned congealed salad. So stick with me and we'll get right to it and enjoy all these recipes. And when you're done, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what some of your favorite Thanksgiving sides are. All right, let's go. Everybody should know how to make string bean casserole. And I just used the recipe that has been like on the back of the, I can't remember if it was on the back of one of these, whether it was the string beans, I don't remember, or the French fried onions. But in any case, it's an old recipe. It's been around for, well, all my life. I'm in my mid-40s. So anyway, I'm going to mix some of this up, bake it, and show you how delicious it is. So very easy. It's going to call for 4 cups of drained string beans. It's going to call for a can of cream of mushroom soup, a half a cup of milk, and a teaspoon of soy sauce, some black pepper, and some those little French's crispy fried onions. So let me get started mixing everything up. It's very important to drain the string beans because if you don't, you're going to have a really runny casserole. So there's the first can, totally drained. And the reason why I'm using 3 cans, it's 4 cups, like I say, of string beans in the recipe. But each can has about 15 ounces in it. So that's going to work out to about, once you drain the liquid and everything, that's going to be about 4 cups of string beans. All right, so there we go. There's about 4 cups of string beans. I'm going to add in a can of cream of mushroom soup. And I'm going to add a half a cup of milk, but I'm going to use this to measure it because that way it'll get some of the extra cream of mushroom soup out of the can. A teaspoon of soy sauce. It calls for 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper, but I never measure it. I just sprinkle it in. And you can use as much or as little black pepper as you want. And now some crispy fried onions. Y'all, if I have a bigger container of these in the house, I will totally snack on them because I love these just to eat them just like they are. They're so good. So you're mixing some of them into the casserole mixture itself, and then we're going to sprinkle some on top also when it bakes. Okay, now I have this is not a 9x13 cake dish. This is, let me see, this says 8 by 11. You can obviously do this in a like a round one or a square one, but this is the one I'm going to use for this. I'm going to spray it with a little bit of Pam. All right. Another thing I want to mention is a lot of times people will use French style green beans for this, and I sometimes do that as well, but I have had a hard time getting the French style string beans at the grocery store, so these are the ones that I have. They're going to be fine. They're going to taste good no matter what. Now I'm going to be baking this in the oven for about 30 minutes at 350 degrees. And then I'm going to be adding the rest of the French fried onions on top to let it brown the rest of the way before serving. And I'll bring you back when it's done. All right, I'm going to take out the casserole real quick from the oven and stir it a little bit and then add some more of those French fried onions on top. And just so you know, it works out like this. If you end up getting one of these small containers of the crispy fried onions, you'll use about half to mix in with the green beans. And then once you have let it get hot and everything and bake it, then you'll top it with the next half of the crispy fried onion. So I'm going to pop this back in the oven. And now I'm just going to leave it in until everything is nice and brown on top. And then I'll show you how it looks. Alrighty, I think it should be ready. So let me take this out and show you how it looks. There we have it, a delicious string bean casserole. You don't want to serve this immediately when it's hot like this. You want to just let it sit for a few minutes so that it can sort of set and it's kind of thicken up some. Oh, but this is so good, and this is perfect for the Thanksgiving table, y'all. So if you've never made one of these before, I hope you will make one, and you will let me know what you think in the comments below. So first, you're going to need to bake some sweet potatoes. In the recipe, she put 4 sweet potatoes, but those would be 4 sort of medium-sized, equally sized sweet potatoes. But I've baked these from my garden, and they're all different sizes. Basically, it's going to amount to about 4 cups of sweet potatoes. I've added a half a stick of butter, and I'm just going to mix that in with a spoon because now that they've baked, they're nice and soft. And it's really easy to mix that up. The butter I have at room temperature. And so I'm going to get that mixed in really well. And there's not many ingredients to this. It's super simple to make. So you're going to enjoy making this one for Thanksgiving. You're going to add 1 cup of sugar. That's a half cup measuring cup, but it comes to 1 cup. Get that stirred in really good. And you're going to see it's going to thicken right up. This is going to almost have the consistency of a sweet potato pie, but not quite. Next, we're going to add some nutmeg. About half a teaspoon. You can add more if you want. You can add less if you want. Get that stirred in. And next, some vanilla. The recipe calls for about a tablespoon, and of course I'm just eyeballing it. This is my homemade vanilla. I'll link to that in the description. Get that mixed in really good. And those are all of the ingredients. So as soon as I've gotten this all mixed up, I'm going to transfer it into that dish. I do want to spray that dish with a little bit of Pam. I don't know if it's necessary, but I've always done it, so I'm not eager to try it without it. I don't know if it would stick to the glass or not, but you might want to grease it with something. And then just get it all into your pie dish or a little square Pyrex dish. My grandmother always serves it in a square Pyrex dish. I don't have one, so I'm just using this glass pie dish. That worked out just fine. I didn't have the exact 4 sweet potatoes, but it did come to about 4 cups or so of sweet potatoes. Probably anywhere from 4 to 6 cups of sweet potatoes would work. And this is just fine. I'd say this is probably about 4 cups of sweet potatoes. Let me just smooth it out a little bit because I'm going to pop this in the oven for about 20 minutes. And I want it to mostly cook all the way through. And then for the last 5 or 7 minutes, I'm going to add some marshmallows on top and brown those. There it is after it's baked for about 20 minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and start adding some marshmallows all over the top. You can add as many as you want. You can use those great big marshmallows if you want. But I like these little ones. And I always end up adding more and more. And once you've got it to where you want it, you're just going to put that back into the oven for probably about 5 minutes or so. But if it doesn't seem like it's browning on top, then you can turn your broiler on. Just keep an eye on it and just let it just brown a little bit on top. And as soon as it looks good, take it out and it's going to be absolutely beautiful. See there? Sweet potato fluff. This is such a good Thanksgiving dessert or Thanksgiving side dish rather, and you can enjoy it anytime. It's easy to make, easy ingredients, comes together quick, and your family will love it, especially the kids. I'm going to serve up a little bit. It's been setting for a few minutes, so it's not super hot. This isn't going to cut exactly like a pie, so it doesn't have that beautiful presentation like a pie, but oh my goodness, y'all, does this taste good. It tastes wonderful. So make this, see if you like it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you haven't already, check out some of the other videos on the channel. You might find some that interest you. Today I'm going to be making corn pudding, which is basically like a corn casserole. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a square Pyrex dish, Anchor Hawking to be honest, and I'm going to take a half stick of butter and put it in here and just let this melt in the oven while I mix up my other ingredients. This is a really delicious side. You can also put it in, you don't want to put it in like a 9x13 cake dish, but if you have one of those more rectangular shaped dishes, you can use those as well. Pretty much any kind of dish that's not too small, but that's going to hold what's going to go in this recipe. I know that's very helpful because I'm telling you an exact quantity, but it's the main ingredients are 2 cans of corn and then 3 eggs. And so, I mean, as long as that fits in the container, it's going to be fine. It'll just be thicker if it's in a smaller container and thinner if it's in a larger one. So, all right, I'm going to pop this in the oven and I'm going to let that melt and I'm going to begin mixing up. All right, and I'm just going to mix this in this large measuring cup because this is perfectly fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I have a can of cream corn and I have a can of regular corn. So I'm going to put these in. Make sure you drain the regular corn. You don't want to put the liquid in there. It'll be too wet. Now let me get this can of regular corn. Let me drain this liquid. I'll put it in the measuring cup. All right. Now this is going to get 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. A 1/4 cup of sugar. And I'm going to get this mixed in first. And then it's just salt and pepper to taste. I don't usually add a whole lot of that because you don't need a whole lot. The corn already has salt and I do like pepper, but I'm going to get the eggs in here in just a minute. There's another version of this that my mom makes that uses Jiffy cornbread mix. I think it uses Jiffy. It is so good. I'm going to have to get the recipe from her and make that one. So, like I said, it gets 3 eggs. And once the eggs are well mixed in, I'm going to check on the butter in that dish and see if it's melted. And if so, I'm going to pour this in and bake it. All right. This looks melted enough. It's a little bit of butter in there, but I think it's fine. And I don't remember if I mentioned at the beginning, but you want the oven preheated to 350. And I've already had the oven on for a while. So this has been preheated. I'm just going to sort of roll this around in here a little bit just to get the sides nice and buttered. All right, so like I said, you just add salt and pepper to taste. You can mix it in with the mixture, but like I said, I don't use very much of it. So I'm really just going to sprinkle a little bit on top, and that's going to be it. Now I'm going to put this in the oven for probably about 50 minutes. You have to know your oven. My oven runs a little bit unreliable. So a lot of times it takes a little bit longer for things to cook for me. So it might be just 45 minutes for you. But let me get this in the oven and I will show you how it turns out as soon as it's done. Alrighty, the timer just went off, so it's time for me to get this corn pudding out of the oven. Now that is delicious. This is way too hot, and I've cooked this for a meal. I'm not going to cut into this right now. You just have to take my word for it. This is out of this world. It is really good. It's kind of sweet, obviously, because it's got the regular corn and the cream corn and the sugar in it. But this is an outstanding side to make for Thanksgiving or really any time. And as you saw, it was so easy, very simple ingredients. So I hope you'll make this, and I hope you'll let me know what you think in the comments below. I love this so much this time of year. It's refreshing. It's got lemon, lime, pineapple. It's cool. It's just so good. So it's really easy to make. And typically I use the regular JellO. I've got the lemon JellO and the lime JellO, but I have the Walmart brand. It'll be fine. And crushed pineapple, cottage cheese, mayonnaise, and pecans. And that's all there is to it. So stick with me and we'll get right to it. Here we go. Alrighty, so I've got water on the stove. I'm going to bring this up to a boil, and then I'm just going to mix that with the JellO. There's 2 cups in the pot, and that's all that you need. So when that comes up to a boil, then we will get the JellO mixed. And now it's boiling, so I'm going to go ahead and add the JellO, which I've already opened and torn the packets to make it quick and easy. I'm just going to dump that in the bowl and then add the boiling water and get this all mixed up. This goes so quick when you're mixing it. The hard part is waiting around in the refrigerator for it to set, because it does take several hours for it to set. And I never can wait until it's set all the way. I always have to just get some as soon as it's mostly set. But it's a very pretty dessert if you wait for it to be set all the way and you serve it in nice, pretty squares and whatnot. And of course, you can double this recipe. What I'm putting this in is a square casserole dish, but you can double this if you wanted to put it like in a cake pan or something like that. And so, okay, I'm just mixing this JellO and getting it dissolved all the way in that boiling water. Just keep stirring. And that's probably good enough. Alrighty, now it's time to add some cottage cheese. It's going to take 1 cup of cottage cheese. So let me get something and measure this out. And I don't have my measuring cup, so I'm just going to kind of be eyeballing this a little bit. And it's the 4% is what I normally buy, but I do buy the small curd, because if you buy the large curd cottage cheese, you're going to end up with big chunks of cottage cheese in your congealed salad. And I think it looks a little nicer when you're using the small curd. You can use the large curd if you want, but this is what I use. And the 2% is also fine. I just go for the 4%. So it's a cup of cottage cheese. And then I'm going to get this all mixed in, and then each step of the way you want to make sure you're getting everything mixed in all the way as much as possible. It's not the prettiest thing in the bowl, but boy, it sure does taste good when it's done. And this is an old-fashioned thing. Duke's mayonnaise, y'all. We got to add some Duke's mayonnaise. It's going to be 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise. And, you know, mine are a little bit heaping. I don't do level tablespoons of mayonnaise, but and you know, this is one of those things that my grandmother always would have on the table, and to this day she still does. She'll have it on the table for a lot of holiday gatherings and family gatherings and things like that. It's just so pretty, because once we get done mixing all of this up and we pour it in the dish, you sprinkle some pecans on top, crushed pecans, and it just looks nice. It just looks really nice. And I don't know if any of y'all have ever gone to like a southern style cafeteria restaurant. A lot of times they'll have some kind of congealed salad or something like that. And this will remind you of that. It's just such an old school, just old fashioned recipe. And it's delicious. And I mean, I just can't say enough good things about it. I'm getting these little bits of, there were some little bits of cottage cheese in there that sort of were clumping. And so I'm just mashing them a little bit to kind of help smooth it out. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. The main thing is just, that you don't have any big chunks in there. You just want it to be as smooth as you can. I reckon you could put it in like a blender or something, but I don't see the point of that. But if it bothered you to have any of the little pieces in there, you could do that. But I think it's part of it to have the little suspended pieces of cottage cheese and pineapple and all that stuff in the JellO. It's just good. So now I'm going to add the pineapple to this. Here it is. It's just the can of Dole crushed pineapple. Used to, you could buy a smaller can than this. This is the 20-ounce can, but I'm not using the whole thing. I'm just going to use half of this, and the rest I'll put in the fridge and use it for something else. But, and I'm not going to measure it out. I'm just going to get out half of this and put it in there. And then mix this up really good, and then that's it. And I'm going to be pouring it into the dish and adding the crushed pecans on top. There's probably a more elegant way to do this, y'all, but whatever. This works. It gets it in there. And you'll notice I didn't pour out the juice or anything from the pineapple. I think it adds flavor, so some people might. And you know what, another thing, could also use like the chunks of pineapple. I've never tried that before, but I imagine it would be just fine. It would just end up with a chunkier congealed salad. And as soon as all mixed up, then I'll be putting it in that little dish and sprinkling the crushed pecans on top and getting it in the refrigerator. All right, so now it's time to pour the mixture into this dish. And like I said, this is just the square casserole dish. It can splash a little bit when you pour it, but it's okay. So it's just going to go in there, and there's a little piece of pineapple, something in there. Okay. I'm just going to take these little crushed pecans. I'd say this is probably about, I don't know, a quarter of a cup of crushed pecans. If you're doing like a larger cake pan, you might want to use like a half a cup. And you don't have to use them if you don't want to. It's just that you typically put these on top. So you're just going to sprinkle as many as you want on there, and this is how many I want. You could do more, you can do less. It's totally up to you. And they're just going to stay on top, and they're just going to float. And then when the congealed salad sets, you're just going to have the little pretty pecan topping. So now I'm just going to cover this with some plastic wrap, and I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and let it set probably for about, I don't know, probably about 6 or 8 hours. I'll go back and check on it. A lot of times when I make this at night late, and then I'll just let it be in the refrigerator all night, and so I'll check it the next morning. But anyway, it's going to be at least 6 to 8 hours, and then it ought to be ready. And I'll cut a piece and show you what it looks like. All right, y'all, I got to confess, we already got into this yesterday, but I forgot to record it, so I'm bringing it back, and I'm cutting some more slices right now for my mom and I. So pardon me for cutting this, and it's already been cut to show y'all what it looks like, but I got to show you what it looks like. It's probably just as well anyway, because when I first cut it yesterday, it wasn't quite set all the way yet, because we were just too impatient and we just wanted some. But it's perfectly set now, so it'll be good. And it'll come out a little bit better. You do a lot of times want to just sort of cut it from the sides a little bit so it won't stick to the edges at all. So there we go. You see that? That's just so good, y'all. And if you've ever been to one of those cafeterias, you know what I'm talking about, because they have things like this. They might have them, and they might be a different color JellO or whatever. But y'all, this is so good. This is such a refreshing spring and summer treat, but you can also serve it during the holiday season at the family dinner table. And it is so good. So I hope you make this. I hope you let me know what you think in the comments below. Try it with different flavors of JellO if you want. You're going to love it. I'm sure of it. Thanks so much for watching. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and all the different recipes. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know what your favorite Thanksgiving sides are. And I have a whole holiday series playlist, which I will link below. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.